out.
Hello there.
That's slightly better every time.
Is it better?
Yeah, I think so.
Dude, I've been working on that for a while.
Let us know. This is the finale of the Star Wars Week special for this year, and we are finishing things off with the sequel trilogy from Disney.
Talking about the sequels.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. The Force Awakens.
Well, listen, let me start off by saying something here.
Okay.
This trilogy, I think, is automatically at a disadvantage compared to the other trilogies because of the internet and because of social media.
Okay.
Because when the original 3 came out, 4, 5, and 6, there was no internet, right?
Correct.
And when the prequels came out, the internet was just kind of starting. You know, it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
So when the sequels came out, I mean, you get immediate fan reaction to it.
Right.
You get immediate, like the studios are actually like adjusting to what people are saying more than they used to. Instead of just telling the story that they want to tell, they're like course correcting, whatever. So, and in Star Wars, you're not going to please everybody.
Correct.
You're just not. So I just think that from the jump, this trilogy is at a disadvantage to the others just simply because of the growth of the internet and social media.
That makes sense to me because whenever you think about, like, as you said, they kind of course correct now because they used to, you know, for the most part, you would have multiple movies in mind for your stuff and you're like, oh, okay, well, here's kind of how the story goes. Here's what happens ABC, right?
Yeah.
And then you release them and people are like, if they love it or they hate it, they can share it amongst their friends or whatever. But there was no, like big thing for like Twitter and stuff like that back at that point.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like, oh, well, if one movie gets released and everyone hates it, then they're like, okay, well, we already had some more planned. So what do we do now? We can either scrap it, which a lot of people do, just be like, oh yeah, well, we're not going to release the second one because everyone hated the first, or B, change the second one so much to please the audience that we're going to forget the story we wanted to tell in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It really is. But like I went into rewatching these movies and I think, if I'm being honest, time away from it and a little bit of distance from watching it the first time, for me, the non-expert Star Wars guy, I don't mind this. I don't mind the sequel trilogy. Now, don't get me wrong, there's going to be some problems and we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
But Force Awakens, I liked it immediately when I first saw it.
Yep.
And I liked it even better watching it recently.
Okay.
Like, I really like The Force Awakens. I think it's great. I think the music is good. I think our introduction to Rey and the music they have for her is really cool. I like Poe. I like Finn. Finn was like really funny to me. Finn and Poe.
Finn's a good character.
And again, I know some of the backlash was it was just too nostalgic. It was too much A New Hope. I agree to an extent, but I don't think it was just a simple remake of A New Hope. I think there was enough differences, but there was something that just kind of made you like, oh, this is the Star Wars I remember. And because you know how I felt about the prequels, so this kind of brought me back. And I remember watching the trailer for this. I'm like, oh, we may get something good here.
Yep.
And then watching Force Awakens, I really liked it.
Okay.
I really did.
I actually feel the opposite way that you do. I do not dislike it because I think it's a solid movie. Okay. But when I first watched it, I was like, this is really cool. And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, but, and, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And yeah, but comes with, do I agree with like the nostalgia thing? Not really, because it is pretty different in a lot of cases. But some of the core elements of the movie structure, it shares a little bit too closely with New Hope.
Yeah.
Like in the events, the way things happen, the person is kind of not stranded, but they're kind of, down on their luck on a planet full of sand. And they're the chosen one, the chosen character to be led on this quest with this this goofy side character with a droid that's kind of goofy with a masked figure in a black costume.
I know,
Come
but
on.
I feel like they had to, though, after the prequels. I think they had to, like, okay, let's get back to what the roots of Star Wars is, which is, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt the roots of Star Wars is 4, 5, and 6. Mm-hmm. And I think that they had to kind of get back to that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good move. And I like BB-8. I like BB-8.
I mean,
BB-8's a cool droid.
He is a cool droid.
Like, there was a scene there where they're in the Millennium Falcon and, Finn is like pretending to be part of the Resistance.
I like that stuff.
And they're trying to, like, well, where's the Resistance base at? And he's like, well, tell him BB-8 or something like that. And, then Finn gives him the thumbs up, and then BB-8 kind of does the thumbs up. It's just stuff like that that was like...
It's fun.
It was just... It just made me... It drew me back to the original trilogy a little bit because it was... There were a lot of, like, comedic elements in this that the first trilogy had. And being able to see Han and Chewie doing their thing again, I just...
It was cool to see Harrison Ford
still being Han Solo.
Yeah, still being Han Solo. And but I do like the fact that he said like all that goofy stuff about the Force or whatever. Yeah, it's all true.
Yeah.
But like you can tell he's still Han Solo, so like he's not super like into it because he still kind of is his own character. But he is now acknowledged. He's like, oh yeah, this whole thing is kind of like much larger than us.
Yeah.
But just because it's a similar thing doesn't make it bad. But it's harder for you to enjoy it on its own whenever you can't help but make so many connections, and it's not unique enough. That's why like they have certain elements in there that try to make it unique, and I think they lean into that much better in the next two movies. Sometimes a little too much, but overall, no, it's a solid movie. It's a solid movie. I think Rey's... I know people... They have debates about this all the time. Rey's a little bit too strong.
Dude, I'm glad she is. Why can't she be strong? Why can't she be too strong?
It's not that she can't be. It's the difference between like... The power difference between Luke when he first arrived and Rey is black and white. It's completely like... It's like they're... It's it's up here and down here.
Yeah.
Whereas like Luke built it over time and you didn't really see the fruits of his training until the start of the last movie. Whereas Rey, she does all sorts of crap at the end of this movie where it's like, oh, she's already leaps and bounds farther than Luke was in the first two movies.
I didn't have a problem with that though. I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Well, I really like Rey.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. So
okay. Well, what'd you think about Kylo?
Kylo's my favorite character of the sequel.
I thought it was good. I like Adam Driver. Adam Driver is a great actor.
He's a great actor. He's one of my favorite actors of this day and age.
Yeah.
If you've not seen some of his other work, go check out The Last Duel, which is on HBO Max with him and Matt Damon. It's a great movie. Marriage Story with him and Scarlett Johansson is one of the most heart-wrenching movies.
Not gonna watch that one.
I mean,
not gonna watch it.
It's a very personal one, but like, he has so many layers to him. He's funny. He can be serious. He can do it all.
He's really good on Saturday Night Live.
He's really funny.
He's really good, and they do a Force Awakens kind of thing. It's like Undercover Boss.
Undercover Boss. He has natural charisma.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that complained about him, calling him, emo, whatever. Dude, I liked him.
Come on, there's a lot of emo people in Star Wars. That's normal.
Yeah, but like when he would throw fits.
Who was more emo than Anakin Skywalker?
Exactly.
Name one person.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I have one question for you. At the beginning, there was the old man that had like the missing key.
Correct.
Who was that guy? Because it seemed like he was very important, and I don't know if maybe there was something that was just a seed planted that we're going to talk about later, but I never... Because that was a kind of a major actor. Max... I can't remember his last name, but who was that guy? Do you know?
No,
okay.
I don't know.
I was just curious.
But no, that's a question I've had too. Is
because he seemed to be really important and knew a lot of stuff and knew a lot about the family, the Skywalker family, and then
he just dies. Gone. Yeah, but they don't really talk a whole lot about it, which is very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer to you. If you guys know, let
Yeah,
us know.
please.
Please tell us, because we don't know. We're not Star Wars experts. We just are two people who want to be YouTubers who like Star Wars. Okay? So
I think there was just a lot of seeds planted in this one that they just never,
didn't really come to fruition.
they really didn't. And I just wonder what it could have been.
Yeah, because even just as a whole, The Force Awakens happened, then The Last Jedi happened, which people thought was way too different. Then they tried to course correct from that to Rise of Skywalker.
That's what I thought.
But
yeah.
without properly paying off the stuff in the first movie. So it kind of it went, this direction, all of a sudden it went this direction, then all of a sudden it went, like this direction.
And again, it goes back to just the internet reaction to it. There's just so much out there.
It does kind of put it at like a disadvantage, so you kind of feel bad for it. Almost,
yeah, and that's why I think it's actually a better watch since it's been a few years, and not listening to all that anymore. Because I remember all the stuff that's like, oh, is Poe and Finn gonna be a thing? Was Rey's lineage gonna be? And there was all these different theories and stuff. And it's just, once you take a step back from that and just watch the movies for what they are, definitely some flaws. But I think the first one, Force Awakens, I don't have a whole lot of problems with this movie.
I just don't think that there's some uniqueness there, but there's not enough, at least for me, to warrant watching it over and over again. And for those of you who actually know me, I've said this twice on this channel, I think. I base my rating of a movie or how much I like it based on if I can rewatch it. Can I sit down and watch this again? Because
I can.
Because there are some films, like maybe like horror films, which are a much different genre, where you maybe don't want to rewatch all the time, because that's kind of it kind of doesn't make you feel good. But especially with a lot of movies like these, I judge them based on, if someone were to say, hey, come over, let's sit down and watch this movie, are you down? Is my answer yes or no? Is it yes or no based on if I want to hang out, or is it based on if I like the movie?
Yeah.
That's big for me. And for this, if I rewatch this trilogy, the last two are more interesting to me than the first one. The first one, to your point, it doesn't do a whole lot wrong. But for me, it doesn't do a whole lot that's great either.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's a solid movie. I can enjoy it. I don't mind sitting down to watch it. But if I had my choice, I'd rather rewatch the other two. One of which I hate much more than The Force Awakens, because it's so strange. But speaking of movies,
all right,
that may be strange, that maybe people don't like, let's get into The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
I've been hyped for this moment. For all these episodes, this is my moment. So
all right, you want me to start?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, when I first watched Last Jedi, didn't like it.
Okay, fair.
I'm like, this is bullshit.
This is some
This is some bullshit. Upon rewatch, I don't mind it as bad.
Yeah.
Now, there's some things I wish they wouldn't have done.
Sure.
I don't think Luke should toss that lightsaber as if it were nothing.
Yeah,
She's handing him the lightsaber that used to be his, right? And used to be Anakin's. Am I right in saying that? Mm-hmm. So he's just going to take the thing and just toss it? Now, there's a difference between, he can be tormented over what's happened with Ben and everything like that. And I think it would have been much better for him to take that lightsaber in his hands and look at it and just remember.
Yeah.
Rather than just tossing it aside. Mm-hmm. I did not like that. I was pissed off about that.
That's fair.
And another minor thing, it's like when he milks that creature. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird, yeah.
He milks it and drinks it immediately. And he's kind of looking at Rey like, yeah, this is happening.
It is weird.
And she's like, ugh.
It is very strange.
It's pretty off-putting for me to see Luke Skywalker do that.
Sure.
Now, I don't mind him not wanting to get back into the fight or not wanting to train her right away.
Yeah.
Again, I don't mind a tormented Luke. Mm-hmm. But I don't want a little bitch-ass Luke either. You know what I'm saying?
Put that on a plaque. And we can both agree, before I before I go off here in a second.
Go ahead.
We can agree that the Canto Bite stuff, the stuff
Space
with
Vegas,
Space Vegas, not a great part of the movie. It is my least favorite part of the movie by a mile.
Okay.
There's nothing I like about it.
Well, they needed to. So tell me if I'm wrong here. If General Haldo would have just told Poe the plan, would they have even needed to go there?
No.
So if they could have retooled that to where they had a reason, and I'd say send Finn and Poe on that, because because Poe, all he's doing is just arguing with Leia and General Holdo the whole time. Let him and Finn go on an adventure, that's something that they do need to get. I don't care if you go to Space Vegas or somewhere else. Yeah, but
make it
just a wasted opportunity. Yeah.
And Rose, poor Rose, like
it's not her fault.
No, like she was given a weird script, with this film. They bullied her really bad after this movie, and I feel really bad for her. That's
the fandom did.
Yeah, and that's why in the last film, which we'll talk about soon, she's not even in it. She
Barely
has like this excuse at the beginning of the movie, like, "Oh, I have to do this," because they hated her, and I'm like. They were mean about it, and I'm like, come on, like I know it wasn't that great of a, I know her character wasn't the greatest, but there are much worse characters in some of these other Star Wars.
They were
movies.
as mean to her as like everyone's mean to C-3PO.
Yeah, it was
like everybody's really like he's really a polite droid, and he's just trying to help
do the right thing, and everyone's just like
ignores him, shut up, turns him off.
Even from a concept. Finn and Poe should have gone to that place because Rose spends her time telling Finn, war is bad and look what they're doing to these animals. Wouldn't it make more sense for Finn, who's been a part of the First Order and left, it would make more sense for him to tell Poe, who's struggling with being reckless, this is what war does to people.
Right.
This is the consequences of what maybe even we're doing.
Yeah.
That would make so much more sense. So 100% agree, don't like that stuff. But let's get into the stuff that I like.
All right.
Because
what did you like?
I love The Last Jedi. I love this movie.
You loved it?
I do. And
you just said
I just said that there's a part of the movie that I
which
do not
is
like.
A pretty big part of the movie.
It is a pretty big part. But all the stuff around it and what it implies for the rest of the series and the rest of the universe, I love.
All right.
And that's why I give extra points for Return of the Jedi for having like a few great moments, because sometimes you remember those moments more than you do the entirety of something. Those moments stick with you. And one of those things is, I don't like that Luke threw away his lightsaber, but just as like a down to earth, take it down to street level. How many old people do you all know who are
curmudgeons?
Who are kind of bastards,
Well, yeah, he could still be a bastard. He just doesn't.
And of course, it's a different universe. Everyone's like, well, he's this, this fantastical character in a fictional world, right? I would say that in the context of what Rian Johnson was trying to create, this is the most realistic Star Wars movie because he makes the characters more realistic. Luke, even though he's done all these heroic things in his youth, should not be infallible, should not be perfect and not subject to still learn. And I like that. I like that. Yeah, even though Yoda, his scene is kind of weird, but I think it's fun that Luke tries to rebuild and falls into almost the same situation, or not the same, a similar one as the old council. And something bad happens and he reacts badly.
Yeah.
Go figure. He's just like his dad. He reacts badly when things happen. He's been like that through the original trilogy as well. When bad things happen and Yoda and Obi-Wan say, no, don't do this, he goes and does it. Why? Because he always let his emotions get the better of him. He's always been that way. He had a moment in Return of the Jedi where he overcame it, but that doesn't mean that he can overcome it all the time. Yeah. And I like that he is still the hero and he can still learn something, and it takes someone who is, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen it, if you haven't, why are you watching this? But this is for someone whose ancestry is on the other end of the spectrum of the Force. It takes someone who is kind of in a similar situation to him to bring him back out. And yeah, some scenes are weird, a little bit of the dialogue is weird, but I like what they did with Luke because it's not if you look at the evidence, it is not above him to react out of emotions.
Yeah.
He's always been that way. And yeah, were they a little strong? Sure. But, he's done that a few times, and his dad did that a lot. So to say that he's not capable or should never do anything bad is stupid. I'm just going to say that. Is it the best character choice? Maybe not. But is it the worst one? Is it unrealistic? No. And I kind of enjoy it. I enjoy watching a grumpy old Luke kind of have to snap back to being the person he once was, to being the symbol that he once was. I like that he kind of, over the past, 30 years or whatever, he kind of circles back and was like, I kind of lost I reacted badly. It's time to go back to being that war hero sort of symbol that I was. And I think that's a good story for him.
I thought it was cool whenever he does appear during that last battle.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it the first time. I'm like, something's different.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know if he was just cleaning himself up before he was going to go fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I know he looked like the Luke when he first lost Ben.
Yep.
But whenever Kylo Ren he's like, I want you to aim every single gun at that spot.
That one spot.
And they're like, okay. And then they shoot.
More.
And then he just kind of comes off and he does this. And I'm like, okay, there's something different going on here. But I think at the first time I watched it, I didn't like it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't mind it as much this time. I'm like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. Luke's more of, he's going to be this spark to keep the rebellion, the resistance going.
Yeah.
He doesn't actually have to be there to do it. And they mentioned earlier on, it's like, what am I going to do? Stand there in front of the entire First Order and wave my lightsaber around? And then that's exactly what he does.
Yeah.
But
and I think that's a good story to tell, because you're invested in his character, because Luke is kind of a main character in this movie.
Yeah.
And because of that, you get to re-see him go back into his glory. Because, they're like, oh, that's not the Luke we knew and loved. At the end, it is. And that's the point, is that, life doesn't always turn out the way you expect. And with that point, I'm going to go to my second favorite thing about this movie. It brings a new element, a mysticism into the Force that other movies don't. And with the expansion of like Kylo and Rey being able to like kind of talk to each other like through the Force, like, and we can actually see that in a way that like we couldn't with like Luke or Leia, was so cool. And seeing Luke train Rey and actually train her and tell her about the concept of the Force and the good and the bad parts about the Jedi Council. Fascinating stuff. And then Kylo, my favorite person in this movie, who is dealing with, he's trying to become more than what he is, but you can tell his ever-going conflict about his parents, especially his mom. And, him killing his father just eats at him. Mm-hmm. And you can tell, like, there's good in this guy. And Rey spends her time trying to be like, who are my parents? Where are my parents? And just like how Empire, has like a huge twist of like, oh, Darth Vader's your father, this movie has a twist of, oh, your parents are nobody.
They're nobody.
And I like that, because that brings into perspective of the Force shouldn't care who your parents are.
Yeah.
The Force should pick out, or even just not, pick out. The Force should be, anybody. The Force could be in anyone. And they could utilize it in whatever way, that's available to them. And I think that that's a better story for Rey as a protagonist to obsess over, well, who are my parents? Why did they leave me? And for the story to say back to her, it doesn't matter. What matters is what you do with your life.
I wonder what the original plan was going to be for her.
I don't know.
I bet it changed 8 different times.
I bet.
But I always thought it would have been so cool.
Yeah.
And I know this doesn't work.
No.
I wish she was like Kenobi of some sort.
Yeah, the 2 British-speaking people.
Well, like, not a daughter, but like a granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that would have been cool. Either a Kenobi or nothing.
Right.
The route they went, I don't know.
That was my favorite fan theory whenever like The Force Awakens just came out, you're like, oh, you hear Obi-Wan's voice.
You hear everybody else's voice too.
Yeah,
like when you watch it with
cool.
captioning on, you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot of Jedi talking right here.
Oh yeah, and that is cool.
It did surprise me that they, I didn't know what they were going to do with Snoke. So to see him get, when Kylo did the lightsaber through him. I thought that was cool in that battle after that.
I do too. And a lot of people were like, well, they had this build up to Snoke, he's like the antagonist.
Yeah.
Well, he's not. Kylo Ren is. Kylo Ren has always been the antagonist. And even though Snoke was kind of this looming over character, we didn't care. Like, we only cared about him because we don't know where he comes from and we didn't know what his origin was. But we're more invested in Kylo's character. And whenever Kylo kills him and he teams up with Rey to fight all the guards, what a cool fight scene, by the way. Choreography's good in that. But then for him to say, okay, well, forget the Jedi, forget the Sith, let's just do what we want. And she's like, I can't do that. It's a good pivotal point. It's like, oh, Kylo has always been the main antagonist. And now, like, that is where they're going to. And the original plan, they had the last movie planned, which was not Rise of Skywalker. It was called Duel of the Fates. There was going to be
and there was a different director, that Colin Trevorrow, I think, was going to direct it.
World.
Yeah.
And their plan was to actually, I'll get into that later, but I'll get into that once we get into the Rise of Skywalker. But the point is, I love this movie, and unapologetically so, because even though it has bad moments, some of the stuff that happens all around, and for the course of implying things for the whole universe, to me is so fascinating and entertaining that I can't overlook it. I think it's really cool. It's my it's definitely the child that causes a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely the problem child, but it's still your kid, and you're like, yeah, you kind of piss people off, but you're so unique, and I love you, and you're my child, you know. How I feel about it.
I'm not going to say I love it, but I do have more of a respect for it now that time has passed.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I'll admit, I was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But after watching it again, it really is a good movie. Yeah. And the visuals are really cool. Their last battle where they're it's like the red stuff after I don't know, that stuff looked cool. Those crystal really animals. Cool. Seeing Rey move moving rocks. Force is moving rocks. But she's moving these huge boulders. I'm like, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's not.
No. But now we come to the last movie.
The Rise of Skywalker.
The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Why'd they have to make her a Palpatine? I don't think that made any sense.
It's the worst decision in all of Star Wars.
You could have went either nothing. She's a nobody.
Yeah.
She's just an original character. I know my Kenobi idea does not.
No, but it's fun.
It's a fun
one.
And I always thought, I know in the Legends canon, like Mara Jade character.
She's the one who marries Luke.
Luke. Like, if she could have been
I don't know a whole lot about the...
Yeah, I don't know a ton about it. If they could have somehow, maybe she was a Skywalker of some sort, like a real Skywalker, that would have been all better than her being a
Palpatine.
Her being the daughter of a clone of Palpatine.
The daughter of a clone of Palpatine. Something like that.
They didn't have to do that.
It's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird, and it just felt very course correcty from The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi got, I don't know if you all knew this, but the critic score for that movie is actually really good.
Yeah.
The audience score is what's not
fandom.
The fandom.
So then J.J. Abrams has got to come back and do this Rise of Skywalker and try to fix everything and make everybody like and it didn't. And it could have.
No, it's got some really cool visuals in this movie. Got some cool music, but in my opinion, this is the worst Star Wars movie that exists out there. There are really cool elements in very small pieces in this movie, but and a lot of this is like a treasure hunt sort of movie. Like, they have to go to planet A to get item A, to go to planet B to get item B, to go to planet C to get item C, and I'm not super big into those kind of things unless it's Indiana Jones, and it's not. So, and it kind of foregoes a lot of the Jedi stuff, and now it's just like, oh, she can shoot lightning because of her lineage or whatever. And Snoke was one of many Snokes that were in these little tubey containers, kind of like those things from Jurassic Park 3, the little Spinosaurus or raptors in the lab. And Kylo is the best character in the movie, for sure. I love like he has my favorite moment in the whole movie, which is when Rey and him are fighting on the shattered ruins of the Death Star, and the waves are coming over.
Yeah.
Visually, one of the most visually appealing scenes in all of Star Wars. Cool fight scene. Colors really pop. Kylo beats her down because she's just worn out, and he's won. All of a sudden, like, you know, his mom passes on, and it really just flips something in him. And Rey heals him because she has healing powers now. She just can do things. So, but I just kind of ignore her after the first movie. I'm like, oh yeah, Rey can just do whatever she wants because she's just all powerful. So whatever. But what, you getting ready to say something?
No, listen. If you take out her being a Palpatine, I like Rise of Skywalker. Like I didn't mind watching this movie again. So she has healing powers.
That would bump this movie up quite a bit.
Oh, significantly.
For sure. The movie starts with somehow
The dead
Palpatine
speaks.
returned. That's like the meme. That's like the meme for the sequel trilogy.
But if you just take that part out of it and just pretend she's
It's a lot better.
it's a lot better. And they didn't have, so the Palpatine was a clone, right?
Yeah.
They didn't even have to do that.
Or something like that.
They could have just said, you know, because in Jedi, when he falls through the thing, they could have done something where he's rescued and he's still alive and he's half a robot, you know, like Vader or something like that. And that would have made sense that he's behind it all.
It's more sense than this.
You could have dropped some clues in along the way that, hey, Palpatine's still around.
Yeah.
Instead of just, there he is.
Yeah.
But all that aside, I don't dislike Rise of Skywalker. I really don't. I thought it was cool that when Leia, when she passes, you know, what I read was that she projected Han Solo, and that used up all of her life force.
Yeah.
And that helped turn Kylo back.
Yes.
To become Ben Solo.
Yeah.
And that's how she passed on. I think that's cool.
Yeah. I love the moment where Kylo, I don't know if it's a Force ghost or just like his, or like a projection of his like mental conflict, but seeing him talk to his dad.
Yeah.
Was a good scene, and he throws his lightsaber. He's like, I'm done. He's like, I don't want to be this anymore. This is not me. And that is the best scene in the movie. And then all of a sudden he goes and he starts fighting the stupid Knights of Ren.
We should have got more background
for
on
sure.
that.
And in this movie, they're stupid.
Yeah.
But Poe and Finn have some things to do, but they're kind of sidelined. The last fight's like on like a ship or something like that, like on this planet. But Kylo gets to like, he gets to be Ben Solo.
Yeah.
And you can tell like whenever he's like fighting and he like makes like certain expressions or says things, I'm like, yeah, he's Han's kid. And I like that.
But isn't this the first one that we get where Finn, Poe, Rey, Chewie, R2-D2, 3PO, they're all like together on the Falcon?
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
That was pretty cool.
You know, it's like, okay, so this is like the next generation of guys flying the Falcon, because I love the Millennium. I hate saying Falcon.
The Falcon.
It's a Falcon. It's Falcon.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, when they're fighting and she's got both Leia's lightsaber and Luke's, and she does the behind the back thing.
So cool.
And now, so like, this movie's not bad.
It's got,
This
like I said,
movie's not bad.
Like I said, it's got really cool elements. I'm probably going to have to change my ranking just a little bit. But it's got really cool elements. But as you said, if you take out the Palpatine stuff, this movie's a lot better. But the difference between The Last Jedi and this movie is with The Last Jedi, if you take out Canto Bight, which is a side story, you know, the rest of it remains relatively unchanged.
Yeah.
Or you could change around the way they do the Canto Bight. With this, if like you're taking out the core concept overarching the whole movie that affects the rest of the universe. So that's the difference. Is I like what the Last Jedi implied for all the Star Wars movies as a whole.
It's that the Force is for everyone.
Yeah, and the, you know, bringing that like the broad conceptual like mysticism back to the Force, and you know, like the ever going hero's journey of even when you have a great moment like Return of the Jedi, you're going to have ups and downs for the rest of your life, and that's okay. This movie, it just kind of wants to bounce right, course correct from The Last Jedi. It's like, oh, she's a Palpatine, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
She's a Palpatine, now she's got to go confront him. And so, yeah, there are a lot of cool elements in this movie, but it's buried deep beneath the waving sea of the blood of the fandom, I think.
So as a viewer, are you unable to get over that?
I can rewatch it.
I mean, are you like moving forward? If there's another Star Wars movie with Rey, can you just forget about that she's part of Palpatine and just enjoy it for what she can do? Because I can't. Because I really like Daisy Ridley.
I can if they try not to mention too much about it. If they keep reminding her that she's a Palpatine, that she can do all these like Force lightning stuff. If they kind of just sideline that, which does sound kind of like I'm being a little bit course correcty.
Yeah.
But if they you can still acknowledge that exists. But if you do it, like if that becomes
as long as it's not a central plot point.
Right. Exactly. Like then I can get past that. So I'm always gonna love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And no matter if some of the movies are good or bad, like it will not diminish my love for Star Wars.
I think this sequel trilogy takes too much heat. And
it does a little bit.
And I don't think it's as bad as what the fandom wants you to think.
It's just an example of what happens when the media plays a huge power role in how movies get released and when all that stuff. So that's for sure. What would you rate this trilogy out of 10? Because we've rated the other trilogies.
The original I gave an 8. The prequel I gave a 4. So it's a 6.
It's a 6?
I like it better than the prequels.
Okay. I think that 6 is.
And if I'm going in order of just the movies,
difficult.
I'm going Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, best to worst for me.
I'm gonna go with a 7 for the sequel trilogy because even though I've talked crap about a lot of things, there's a lot of stuff in here that I do like. Because I really like The Last Jedi. The Force Awakens is a solid movie. The Rise of Skywalker brings it down.
Do you want to see more of these characters?
I do. Yeah, I think that Finn.
Are we going to?
We're supposed to see a new one with Rey, but like for me personally, Kylo's my favorite character of the whole sequel trilogy. But also Finn was a very underutilized character. Mm-hmm. They could have changed him around from after the first movie. The Last Jedi did not do him a lot of favors, I will admit that. And so he's a character I'd like to see come back because I like Finn. Finn's a really good character.
I'd like to see him with some Force abilities.
I do too, yeah, because they hinted at that.
Yeah, they did, and then they just kind of left it.
Nowhere.
A lot of missed opportunities in the sequel trilogy, but it's still Star Wars, and I still like it.
Well, before we go, would you like to rank all your Star Wars films from the Skywalker Saga from the worst to the best?
Worst to best?
Worst to best. That's
Phantom Menace is the worst.
Phantom Menace is the worst. Okay.
Attack of the Clones is the second worst.
I can see where this is going.
You don't know me.
So far.
All right. So let me be fair here.
Okay.
Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. That's where I figured you'd put it.
Revenge of the Sith.
Yep. You don't know me. I just know the first 4 you're gonna do.
All right, so that's 4. So then I've got Last Jedi,
Okay.
Force Awakens, New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Empire.
Okay. Solid list.
You can make a graphic or something.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna pull all that up.
The prequels are so bad. I can't get over it.
Okay, so I'm making a last second change because of our conversation.
Did I sway you in any way?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a
place.
A hair. The last one is The Phantom Menace. It's just, of course, it's the bottom. Then I'm going to go The Rise of Skywalker. Because I just still it's hard for me to watch it. Then A New Hope. At 7. I told you.
So this list is ridiculous.
Okay, you know what?
All right, please continue.
It is easier
with your
for me,
nonsense
okay,
list.
whatever. It is easier for me to watch Attack of the Clones than A New Hope because Attack of the Clones is so cringy that it's like a comedy. And no, should it be like that? No, but I still don't mind watching it because it's funny.
All right.
So 6 is Attack of the Clones, obviously. 5 is The Force Awakens. 4 is Return of the Jedi. It's a good movie. 3 is The Last Jedi. That's my third kid, basically. My second kid is Revenge of the Sith. Love that movie. It's so good.
It's not good.
And don't.
It's not good.
You know what? You can keep your wrong opinion. That's fine. You are entitled to your wrong opinion. And number 1, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, across the board, Empire is just so good.
So we agree on the top and we agree on the bottom.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I figured so.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed our Star Wars special over the course of this week.
Subscribe, guys.
Yeah, subscribe. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell us about what you think and what your ranking is and what you think we did wrong or what, any of our stuff that's wrong. Most of his and none of mine. But have a good rest of your day, and we will see you later.